Do, 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 do. Try that again. Try like rainforest noise. Macaw! Chirp, 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 chirp. Tropical bird. Alright, so we're going to look over at the terrarium side. To get a really good look, I would actually have to pull the top off, so give me just a second, see if I can just slide this on over. And there's the inside. So the Ingrid Liz Ivy, which was the creeping plant that I added in here, didn't do so well. I went ahead and took it out so that it wouldn't rot in here. And I figured that it wouldn't do too good, but I gave it a try anyway. The two plants remaining are just the red ant and then the other plant back here. I finished just one of the rock walls, which is back here. And it'll look better once I add more moss and everything to it. So the moss is actually not attached. And I tied this piece of wood here, so the moss kind of like sits there. And in case this wood starts to rot, I can just cut the string off and untie it from the mesh that it's attached to. I'll finish the rest of the rock wall. I think I'm going to do all the way around from this side all the way to the other side of the tank, to maybe about right here, just to cover up so you can't see the tanks on this side. And I added some duckweed. The only filter for the water is going to be that sponge filter that I have. And I'm going to continue to use more moss. I'm going to have it like creeping up along the side like this. And have it hanging downwards so whatever frogs or whatever can, if they get stuck here in the water, they can always climb back into the little tub. So that's what's going on here. I did want to note that the terrarium, even though I have about 5 pounds of gravel in here and these big rocks, it still is free floating. I mean, it's plastic, so it is going to float, and it is anchored in the back as well as from some of the driftwood pieces. It's kind of wedged in there so it doesn't move. And what I've done, and I'm going to slowly close this real quick. So what I've done is I've kept the terracotta plants there. The terrarium itself is actually not sitting on them, but if I were to drain the water out, the tub would fall on top of the terracotta plants, so I wouldn't have to worry about any fish getting smushed. I do have to worry if anybody rests on top of the terracotta pots, but as far as this falling, I'm pretty confident it will stay where it's at. So I did add some plants here. There's some bacopa in the back, and I did add one of my male crown tails, and you can see he's in pretty bad condition. He's always had Popeye since I had him. I've tried many different types of medications, and he just seems to always have it. I'm not sure why, and I'm hoping it gets a little bit better within the next few days. If not, I'll take him out of here. And now I have added some kanapex into the tank, and I have tried medicated flakes and everything that I can think of to take care of his eye problem. But what I'm worried about is his tank mates messing with him. Now these are cherry barbs. Let's see if we can get a better look of them. There's about 5 of them in here, and I'm worried about them seeing his messed up eye and taking advantage and tearing him to pieces, but so far so good. He's doing well. You can see his other eye is fine. His body appears to be very clean and everything. It's just that eye. It's always been like that, and I'm not sure why. It might even just be a genetic thing, so. Having trouble there. But as far as his tank mates, he has 5 cherry barbs in here, and there is 1 bushy nose pleco back here. And that's basically the whole tank. I'm going to get some more anubias, and I'm going to keep wedging them between the tub and the piece of driftwood here. And hopefully that'll cover most of the front of the tub. And yeah, that's mostly the finished product of the terrarium. So this is just a real quick video on how I do my rock walls. And this is a semi-finished piece right here. And it's actually, all it is silicone that you use for aquariums. You can pretty much use any silicone. I recommend the clear type. And what you would do is don't glue onto the mesh first. What you're going to do is individually do each and every rock, just a little dab, and then place it where you want it. What's going to happen is if you glue the mesh first and then place the rocks will eventually fall off. So to make sure that they stay, you'd have to do each rock individually, and it doesn't take as long as you think it might. And yeah, that's just a partially done one. And what I do is I cut, or I tie little suction cups behind the rock wall. And I just do it on each side, one end here, and then there'll be another one on this end. And there you have it. That's all you have to do. And yeah, I recommend doing this outside though. So right now it's just too humid and the fumes really get to me, so I have to wait until nighttime to actually start the process of finishing it. But when it comes to stuff like wood, this is actually grape wood. I do not glue it onto the mesh because grape wood, when it gets wet, sometimes it ends up with fungus and some type of mold on it. So it's really not meant for any type of wet habitat. So this is more for I want to say hermit crabs, and even though it is hermit crabs should have a humid habitat, but yeah, grape wood is good for like snakes and lizards. When it gets too wet, it does fuzz up and get moldy, so I just tie it onto the wall, which is very simple. You can get like acrylic yarn or anything like that and just tie it onto the mesh. That way if it gets too bad, you can just untie it and replace it. I mean, a bag of these are like $5 at PetSmart. So that's how I do my rock walls. I did also want to talk about the type of moss that I'm using. This is frog moss. I got it from my job and it was like $6. And it is live moss. All you have to do is soak it in water. I saturate it for a day, put it in a plastic container and let it dry out. And Yeah, do not use decorative moss or anything that you find at like the Hobby Lobby or craft aisle at Walmart, because even though it can be live organic moss, sometimes it contains pesticides or paint, so that can be harmful to both your fish and whatever amphibian or reptile that you're using in your terrarium. And this moss lasts for quite a while. I think you can reuse it up to like 4 or 5 times, I believe, after it gets saturated, and it doesn't mold, I know that. But yeah, and it's a good size amount. I mean, this will fill up an entire bottom of a 10-gallon tank, so I like it. Oh, and one more thing about this type of moss too. It's called pillow moss. Some people like to silicone it to things. I would not recommend doing that. You do have to replace it every so often once you get like a bunch of insect parts and poop and stuff on it. And if you do try to silicone it, it will start to turn brown. So it's best to just leave it either on top of the substrate or on a piece of rock or whatever that's in the terrarium. It can float on top of the water. It will be fine for a while, but what I'm going to do with it is just keep it in the substrate, just to keep the moisture for the amphibians that are living in the tub in the terrarium. And John says hi. Say hi! Guinea pig! Named John. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I still got quite a ways to go before I actually finish this terrarium. It does take me about, I want to say 3 days just to get the moss ready, and another 3 days to make a rock wall, because you have to wait 3 days for the glue to dry before you can saturate it with water. And I do recommend washing it before you put it into the aquarium. So even though it's not going to be submerged, it's still a good idea to wash it to make sure that your rocks don't fall. And yeah, all I'm going to do after I'm done with my rock wall is to add the brown background to blend in the rock wall, and that'll be it. Oh, and also add some more Anubias as well. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any suggestions, please drop them down into the comments. If you have any questions as well, drop them down in the comments. I try to respond as quickly as possible. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Don't forget, this Thursday is the end of my giveaway, so don't forget to enter it. And subscribe. And thumbs up.